Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Standard Speakeasy. I'm Sareth, and as every episode, I like to remind the audience watching that I wanted to go on tour, but COVID hit, and this is my way of interviewing comics. And I usually, when I'm man on the street, guerrilla style, with my camera, it's usually 10 to 20 minutes long. But with these are sometimes much longer, sometimes around the same length. But we just deep dive into comedian interviews that are living in the Central Time Zone. And so, with that being said, my guest this evening is Michael Meyers. Hey, Michael, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing quite fantastic. Thanks for joining me on the Stand Up Speakeasy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're quite welcome. And so, you started doing stand up in Columbus, Ohio, in 2010. And what was the scene like back then?
Well, I mean, there was less people doing comedy then, I feel like. And there it's different because there wasn't much beyond like one or two open mics. So I felt like it was like once or twice a week you'd get out and do it. And it was always something you look forward to. But now, now there's like comedy every night of the week, I feel like, or not anymore since the pandemic. But um, yeah, I feel like there was maybe just a little bit less going on, but it was a good place to start. So, yeah.
Indeed. And currently, you're in Chicago at the moment, and I love the comics I've met so far. That lives there, and the rooms I performed in.
Yeah.
What's it like that your experiences so far before pandemic hit the Chicago scene like?
I mean, well, that was like one thing that I really liked moving here was, like I said, in Columbus, there was not as many opportunities to get up, and Chicago is big and there's a lot going on. So pretty much every night of the week, you can get out and, um, you know, you go to as many mics really as you want a night, and then usually there's a good showcase every night. Along with they have the Laugh Factory here and Zanies, so they got a couple good clubs. But beyond that, the comics, it's a competitive scene, so there's a lot of really funny people and a lot of people that get out there a lot. So you have to be you got to be pretty diligent about getting your face out there and working on new stuff. To get spots. So that's good if you want to get better. I feel like it's a really great place to get good at comedy and learn a lot from people that have been doing it for a while and running shows and stuff like that. So yeah.
Indeed, I definitely have to explore more of Chicago. And here I live like an hour in each direction for a mic, and so just to do 5 minutes, so it's like, oh man, the drive to Jacksonville or Daytona, Orlando. It's like, oh man, but
Yeah, that'd be tough to find the motivation to do that, but it's nice to get out there and perform when you can. So
absolutely, indeed, most definitely. And so you describe your sense of humor as dry and deliberate, and uh, how so? Like, I saw some of your videos from some shows on YouTube, so
yeah,
I love it. So, uh,
good.
so why would you describe it dry and deliberate?
Well, I would say dry just because, like, the way I talk, I feel like it's, a little bit slower and, I don't know, dry because that's just the way I write and the way that I deliver things. And the deliberate thing, I don't know. I wrote that bio a while ago. I feel like I say deliberate mostly because it's like, a lot of the stuff that I write is very much like there's like a lot of working parts in it. So I just feel like it's deliberate in the sense that I have to I have to say most of it, otherwise it feels like it doesn't make any sense. So that was why I came up, and I also feel like I just said deliberate because dry and deliberate sounded good together. So that was that was pretty much why I wrote that there. But,
Most definitely, and you've traveled with your sense of humor throughout this country, and what are your with varying degrees of success here it says, and which parts of the country did you like the most performing?
Well, you mentioned that you're from Colorado, and I've been out there a couple times, and I really enjoyed performing there. I did, about a week out in Denver and Fort Collins and Boulder, and had a lot of fun doing the shows there and meeting the comics in those scenes. I really like going to Indianapolis. Indianapolis has a lot of funny people and a lot of good shows. And also, Indianapolis was the first place that I ever did a road show, so it kind of holds a little bit of a special place for me in that. Beyond that, I've been down to New Orleans. New Orleans was fun, and yeah, mostly just through the Midwest. But I'd say in terms of like traveling and the most fun I've had traveling out in Colorado was probably the most fun that I've had. So
Indeed, they have quite the scene there for sure.
yeah, it was great.
Most definitely. And in 2015, you released your album called Non Don No Don Draper to varying degrees of acclaim. And what was that whole atmosphere like when you recorded the album?
Well, that was right before I moved here to Chicago, and I was living in Columbus. And I think at that time I'd been doing comedy for about 4 years. And my friend, who's a very funny comic who lives in New Orleans now, her name's Laura Sanders, and her and I were both moving at the same time, and she had this idea to record an album. Um, at this theater in Columbus called the Guarded Theater, which seats like 200 people. And we thought it'd be fun to kind of combine our forces, to each record an album and then be able to draw from people that would follow us so we could fill the theater and then have a really nice recording for it. And it ended up working out really well. We just did one show, so it's kind of like if it works out, it works out, and if it doesn't, then oh well. But it ended up going really well, and a lot of people um, enjoyed it. And I'm proud of the recording still. It's like I said, I did it 4 years in, and there are things that I look back on it now, and I'm like, oh wow, I wouldn't do that, or certain like stage things that I did. I feel like that are just come with time and being up more that I probably wouldn't do now, but I'm still happy with how it turned out, and it was a good experience to do it. Um, so yeah, I did that, and I was planning on recording something else in November, but everything shut down, so that didn't work out. But hopefully next year I'll be able to record something new.
Indeed, I hope so too.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And so I recorded my album in a pool hall, and it was a nice little pool hall, and then I did put a bonus track in from the back of a venue that we had like it was really tiny in Jacksonville, and
Yeah,
it was pretty neat. But I'm happy with how it all turned out for
yeah,
sure.
that's awesome.
Indeed. So you were also a feature performer at the 2018 Limestone Comedy Festival, and what was that like?
That was great. I mean, that was kind of a goal of mine for a few years to get into that festival because it's in the Midwest. I feel like it's probably the best festival. Um, so I had applied once before and didn't get in, and then I applied again, and I realized that they have a ton of people applying. So I didn't think that I would. I didn't think it was going to happen. And then I got the email that I got in and was very happy. And then that festival is incredible. If anybody is looking for festivals, that's definitely one to apply to because they do a very good job of setting up the shows and making sure people are there. And they have people from clubs in the Midwest that bookers that come and watch, and they have the guy that books like the new faces for Just for Laughs is there. So there's a good way to get yourself um, kind of seen. I was able to get some club work out of it, and was able to work with some comics that I respected a lot, and was able to see a bunch of stuff that comics that people like Judah Friedlander were the headliners, and there's Margaret Cho, and um, a few others. So I was able to watch those shows, but then I was also able to watch comics kind of at, I guess, my level across the country that I hadn't seen before, and saw a lot of people that I really loved. So it was a really cool experience, and I would highly recommend applying for it whenever that does come back. And if you get in, it's really a great experience. So, yeah.
Indeed, I'll definitely keep a lookout for that festival, and it sounds like a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I run one now, and then I'm having one with it in Daytona Beach coming up. So we'll see
Cool.
how that all goes around. And I have one in Colorado, so that's why I love Colorado's comedy scene. But I'll definitely have to look into the Limestone Comedy Festival because that sounds like a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, it's great. It's in Bloomington, Indiana. So
Awesome. I won't be able to afford Judah or Margaret, but we'll just keep it all local, I guess.
right.
So let's see here. You also run a weekly stand-up comedy showcase in Chicago called High Dive. And how did you come up with the name, and what got you started to starting a stand-up showcase?
Well, the showcase, I mean, obviously now everything's shut down, so that's on hold. Luckily, the restaurant appears to be staying open. So hopefully, once things are able to get back to a little bit normal, we'll be able to start it up again. But it's called High Dive because the restaurant is called High Dive, and we just thought that we tried to come up with names and nothing sounded good. And High Dive we thought was a cool name, and then also you just know then that it's at High Dive, so there's no like it's this show, but it's at this place. It's just like it's High Dive, so you go to High Dive. And really, we started that because I used to do bingo for the bar there, and they had this really nice back room that was separated from the bar and the restaurant. So we figured we could start a show back there. And honestly, I just started the show because wanted more stage time and wanted to be able to run something that kind of fit what we wanted, and be able to book people that we really liked, and but mainly just to be able to like build something and be able to perform weekly in front of an audience, even if you're not booked on any other shows that week. So it was mostly so we had a place to do what we wanted, every Thursday. So, but it's a good show, and hopefully we'll be able to bring it back once things get a little bit safer. So
Most definitely, indeed. And I read that in your bio here in 2011, and during a show, someone threw a lemon at you.
yeah.
Where was that at, and like how did you react and all that stuff?
Well, that was in Columbus, and that was about a year after I started, and it was in this little place called Side. I think it was called Sidebar, but they ran a show down in the basement there, and I was not. I wouldn't say particularly good at comedy at that point, and I think I wasn't very like I wasn't offensive, but I would I think I'd be more inclined to say things that aren't just weren't great, I guess you could say, or weren't very funny, just more like the shock value of it. And I was bombing, and a woman in the front was filming me, and I asked her to not film me, and then she kept filming me. And then I asked her why she was filming me, and she said it was because she wanted something to laugh at later. And I was like, well, you're not laughing now, so you're going to use it to just mock me. And then from there, everything just evolved, and I started saying like, I just started being mean because she was just being mean, and then a woman who was in the bathroom came out and didn't see any of the exchange beforehand and just thought that I was just saying mean shit to this lady for no reason at all. And at the time, the bartender was cutting fruit on the bar. And so she saw me doing this and just yelled, "You're mean," and grabbed a lemon and threw it at me. Uh, but the lemon missed like way left. I mean, it was like very, very far left. Um, so when I saw that happen, I just said, all right, well, I guess that's my time. And then I got off the stage. But my buddy did grab the lemon for me, and I actually still have it. If you want to see it, I can go grab it real quick if you want me to grab it.
Yeah, sure. This is awesome. So, as a friendly reminder for those, while Michael's getting his lemon, his Venmo and his Twitter is scrolling on the bottom. And if you'd like to donate to him, that'd be awesome of you. So, how's the lemon doing?
Lemon.
Wow.
It's kind of like almost looks like a walnut now. But, it was a lemon at one point, and yeah, I keep it because I feel like that's like a trope almost that people throw fruit at comedians, but I've never seen it happen until I didn't see it happen before, and I haven't seen it happen since, but I did have it happen to me. So
Indeed, and it reminds me of Fozzie Bear and the tomatoes, and so
yeah.
so it's like and so your ongoing comedy goal is to never have another lemon thrown at you, and that's a fantastic goal to have.
Yeah, and I've so far I've achieved that. It's hopefully I'll have a more more time to maybe have one thrown at me again, but I hope not. So
Most definitely, and the way it's been preserved for all this time, for like the past 9 years, is amazing.
yeah, I'm actually it is surprising. I put it on my mantle in Columbus, and then yeah, I feel like I thought something would happen to it, but it's just kind of mummified itself almost. It's just that's how it looks. So yeah,
That's pretty awesome.
yeah.
And so another comic that I interviewed earlier with the series, they also chose Moralewiches for Precious Blood Ministry.
Oh, cool.
And so, what made you pick Moralewiches?
Well, Nate Burrows, who helps me run High Dive along with a few other comics, he is the one that is behind all of that. And basically, since the pandemic started, he was a bartender, and he was just looking for something to occupy his time and also help people. So him and his uncle started making sandwiches for this ministry to help kind of the less fortunate areas and people here in Chicago. So they've been doing that to help feed the hungry, and then they've also they've organized coat drives. Last weekend or a couple weekends ago, we went down, cleaned up some trash near a community that was living under a bridge. So he's just doing a lot of good work in areas that need it, and the money just kind of goes towards supplies that he might need to do whatever it is that he wants to help the underprivileged here in Chicago. So it's a great, it's a great charity, and like I said, my buddy started it, so it's a good thing to help out.
Indeed, most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for the next segment of the show is the questions I wanted to ask you if I was to go on tour before the pandemic hit. And so, with that being said, Michael, what inspired you to perform stand-up comedy?
I don't know if I have a specific thing that inspired me. I know that I really wanted to perform ever since I was young. I grew up, and whenever I'd be home, like sick from school or anything like that, I'd usually watch Comedy Central, and they'd have premium blend and the Comedy Central half hours or like Sinbad specials, and I just really loved stand up, and I just felt like I wanted to do it, and in school, I feel like I could make people laugh at school, um, so I always wanted to do it, and but it was kind of one of those things where you want to do it, but you don't think that you could ever do it. So I didn't actually perform until I was like 25 or 26. That was the first open mic I went to. But yeah, it was just always something that I really wanted to do. And then once I started to do it, I fell in love with it, and here I am. So
Indeed. And what was the feeling like when you first performed stand up?
what's that?
What was the feeling like when you first performed stand up?
It was good actually. Like a lot of people say the first time they bomb, which I mean, I think that my ex girlfriend video or filmed it, and if I look back on it now, I'd be like, "This is terrible." Um, but I do remember not really bombing. I mean, I was making people laugh, and so that feeling was great. And the next time I did it was kind of similar, and I felt like, "Oh wow, this is what I was meant to do," and I'm good at this. And then the third time I bombed horribly, and I've never felt worse. and and that definitely changed my perspective of like, oh, this is destiny. It was just like, oh no, you're not. You're just not very good at this like you think you are. So, but then I just kept going, and I bombed a lot more, and I did good sometimes too, and I've just kept going. But stand up is one of those things where I think if you have a passion for it and you get out and do it, um, you know, it's great. So,
Most definitely. And other than your comedy record, what are your favorite comedy records and comedy specials?
well, I think the best stand up special I've ever heard is David Tell's Skanks for the Memories. That's just like, I mean, it's just joke after joke after joke. Um, Norm MacDonald, his I mean, pretty much every Norm Macdonald special is great. I really like Todd Barry, and Maria Bamford, I think, is great. Trying to think of specific specials that I liked. I mean, honestly, that David Tell one is in the David Tell one, and I forget which Mitch Hedberg one it is, but those were kind of the ones when I was a little younger that I thought were fantastic and were really inspiring, I guess you could say. That you'd be like, wow, these guys are really great. So I'd say those two.
Indeed. And a lot of those folks have been on TV, and I want to know what your favorite sitcom, sketch shows, and comedy films are.
Hmm. My favorite sitcom. I mean, I guess would The Simpsons be considered a sitcom?
I'd say so.
Yeah, I mean, The Simpsons is, I think, the first like season 3 through 9, it's almost perfect. And in terms of sketch comedy, I mean, I grew up and I really liked like the Chris Farley era Saturday Night Live. That was kind of what I grew up watching, and then like the Will Ferrell stuff too was always really funny. Um, I got into Mr. Show, and I think Mr. Show is a great sketch show. And recently, that I think you should leave is also a really funny sketch. Um, and Kids in the Hall, like I said, watching Comedy Central when I was younger, Kids in the Hall was always on, and I always thought that was really funny too. And then what was the other one? There's
Uh, co- Comedy films.
comedy films. Um, let's see here. Well, I mean, I guess when I was younger, I always thought like, I love like the Mel Brooks movies. Um, I don't know, Blazing Saddles. I think is very funny. Spaceballs, I thought was hilarious when I was younger. I don't think it really holds up anymore, but when I was younger, I thought it was the greatest movie ever. But nah, I like The Big Lebowski. I think that's a fun movie to watch. Um, yeah, that's I'm trying to think of specific ones because I feel like comedy movies sometimes too. It's like you like them, and then after a few viewings, you know the jokes, so they kind of lose their luster a little bit. But yeah, I'd say those. I'd say like yeah, Big Lebowski is a good one. I think that holds up through time. So yeah.
Indeed. And if you can go on tour with any comedian, locally and internationally known, which comedians would you like to go on tour with?
Well, I like going and doing shows with my buddy Blake Burkhart, who is a comic here in Chicago. And I also like going with Nate Burrows, who does the Moralewiches. So there's a lot of comics here. Also, when I went to Colorado, I went with Laura Sanders and Samuk Torgalkar, and they're a lot of fun to travel with too. In terms of an internationally known comedian, I mean, it would be incredible to be able to do stuff like I said with Dave Attell or Norm Macdonald. I feel like those would be yeah, just really cool to be able to perform with those guys. So probably those
Most
two. Mhm.
indeed. And if you can get roasted by five comedians, past and present, which comedians would you like to get roasted by?
Probably Greg Giraldo, Patrice O'Neill, Don Rickles, Gilbert Gottfried, and trying to think who would be a good roaster. Um, hmm. I mean, honestly, I think David Tell too would be a funny guy to get roasted by. So probably those five right there.
Awesome. And where do you see your comedy career in the next 5 years?
Um, I well, if things ever come back, I hope that um, I don't know. Like I think it's something that you kind of have ideas about what your goals are and what you want from comedy, and then over time you realize that you're not necessarily in control of that. And so I guess my only real goal is to hopefully be able to still performing, um, be performing more regularly, and writing new material that I enjoy and that people also enjoy. Um, in terms of like success, I don't really know that I have specific goals for success because I feel like that just kind of is a way to let yourself down a little bit. So you just kind of have to keep going, and whatever comes comes, and hopefully the success is there. But if not, hopefully it's you have fun with it, and it's not something that is that takes away from you. It's something that gives to you. So I guess that would be my goal.
Indeed.
Mhm.
Sometimes the bar is set too high, so I always set my bar pretty low, and so it's like I can reach that. It's much easier. So
Yeah, I mean
little
it's good to have goals, but you also just have to understand that whatever happens, a lot of times it's out of your control, and all you can do is write and perform and be nice to people. So yeah.
indeed, most definitely. And Which other forms of comedy would you like to venture off into, like improv, sketch, comedy writing, acting, directing, etc.?
I mean, I haven't really done any improv. I've just done stand up mostly. I'd like to get into. I mean, I'd love to get into like the writing aspect of it, and because I feel like if you want to have a job in comedy, I mean, stand up's great, and it'd be great to be one of the stand ups that become successful and can make their living doing stand up. But I feel like that's, about a handful of stand ups. So a lot of it, if you want an actual job in comedy, I feel like the writing is the route to go. So I'd like to do some writing. I'd like to be able to get into that. Um, beyond that, I wouldn't mind, doing, I guess, some acting, but that's not really a goal of mine too much. But if it came along, I'd be more than willing to give it a try. So,
Indeed, most definitely. And which comedy, which joke, what is your joke a comic has ever written?
say that again.
What is your favorite joke a comic has ever written?
My favorite joke a comic has ever written. Um, well, the one that comes to mind, and there's a comic here in Chicago. His name's Joe McMahon, and he has a joke about um, a bishop in his uh, church that was arrested for, the pedophilia, and his dad says to him, did he ever do anything to you? And Joe says, he says, no, I was smart because whenever I dealt with Bishop Keith, I always made sure to stand directly in front of him because bishops can only make their move on a diagonal.
I love a good game of chess, and that's a pretty great joke.
And then the last line is, victims play checkers, I play chess.
Oh man, that's brutal, but that's hilarious.
That's good.
Quite brilliant too. So, what experience would you like your audience to take with them after a set is over?
To be honest with you, I just would like people to have enjoyed it. I mean, I don't mind when people don't, enjoy it, or they don't. I'm not really their cup of tea, because I have success with the jokes, so I know that it's for some people. Maybe it's not for everybody, but I yeah, I would just say people enjoy my set and just feel better having watched it, or yeah, just found it to be funny. You know, I don't know that I have any like real um, like huge overarching goals for it. I don't want to change anybody's point of view. I just want people to laugh. So yeah.
Indeed. And for this next segment is I would like for you to nominate comedians from the future episodes of the stand-up speakeasy. So which comedians would you like to see on the next in some future episodes of the stand-up speakeasy?
Well, I'll recommend Nate Burrows and Blake Burkhart, and Rebecca Gibson is very funny too. Um, so yeah, I'd say those three would be fun to have on and kind of delve into their comedy. So
Indeed, I'll definitely reach out to those fine folks and all that good stuff. And
yeah,
and as a friendly reminder for those at home, please follow Michael on Twitter and donate to him on Venmo and also donate to Moralewiches for Precious Blood Ministry if you can. That'd be fantastic.
yeah.
And so, with that being said, Michael, are there any final words you'd like to give out to the viewers at home?
Well, I hope everybody stays safe. Wear your mask and avoid large crowds if you can, so that hopefully one day we can all do comedy safely again and get back to just enjoying each other's presence. So
Indeed, most definitely, indeed. And thank you so much, Michael, for being my guest on the Stand Up Speakeasy. And it was great diving into your comedy career so far. And I can't wait to. I'm going up to Chicago in October for my festival appearance, and hopefully I get to meet you and all that good stuff. And
Yeah, hopefully everything's back and running. And yeah, I'd love to meet you. Thanks for having me on.
awesome, thank you. You're welcome so much, and I will see you soon. I hope.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Be well, Michael, and for everyone else, be well too. And until next time, we'll see you on this Speakeasy.